Are you progressing if you are a student? Do your children progress at school or no? Ask yourself, how do you know? You cannot know that your child is progressing or you are progressing unless you compare yourself with others. The others in the classroom or at the school level or at the country level. Perfection is the key concept in Islam. Which is more important, the skill or the rules? Think of it. But the answer is the skill. You drive the car well. Even if I ask you about the names and the parts of the machines that you have in the car, you may not know, but you can drive it very well without making any accident. This is the skill. But the rule is if I teach you all the names of the parts of the machine of the car, you memorize them, but you don't have the ability to drive. So this is the difference between knowledge and a skill. So that's why you would be equipped with some information now when you visit a class. You would be able to see if the teacher dominates everything, as I'm doing now, dominating everything. I don't allow you to speak now. Or is it the students who are dominating everything? When you find a teacher giving a small rule and allowing all students to practice, whether to practice them in group work or in pairs or even individually, but the students are doing most of the work because you cannot learn the skills without practicing. Just to make things easy for you. Look at this example to see the difference between the knowledge and the skill. Sometimes it's very easy to get the knowledge. I can give you a very simple piece of knowledge now. You can get it in 3 seconds. But the skill, it takes you a long time to get them. And if you don't practice it, there's no way for you to get it. The piece of knowledge that I want to tell you that, the goal of playing basketball is to get the ball into the basket. This is the piece of knowledge that I give you. Is it easy to repeat it? Can you tell me that? Yeah? Any one of you? What is the piece of knowledge here? Just getting the ball into the basket. Can anybody say that? Everybody can do that. The skill is, do you really put it in the basket or no? If I compare myself with Michael Jordan puts the ball in 100 times, he gets 99% correctly. He puts the ball in. When I play basketball and play it 100 times, I get it only 1 or 2 times. I'm not stupid, but just I didn't have the chance to practice this skill as he had the chance. For him to reach this level, he did this play at least 500,000 times. And that's why he reached there. For me, the only times I played basketball, probably 17, 18 times in my lifetime. That's why I don't have the skill. But I have the knowledge. I have the knowledge. The knowledge is, the goal is to put the ball in the basket. This is the knowledge. But the skill, very poor. This is something you can observe when you visit classrooms. And I hope the teachers, and I'm sure that we have some of them here, and you are a teacher. All of you are teachers because you teach your kids. So what I'm telling you now, do you focus on the knowledge with your kids and keep skill away? And this happens in learning grammar and learning tajweed. And I'll come to the point of the Quran, for example, to see what is the necessity for us nowadays. to be able to recite the Quran correctly and to get the rewards on the day of judgment, to memorize the whole Quran. What does we need here in this country and all over the world? Or to memorize parts of it and to know the meaning of what you are doing, because what changes us is not the amount of the chapters that we memorize from the Quran, but it is how much we understand from the Quran. Now there's another element here, element of understanding. Do you understand what you read? The answer is yes and no. But what do we need here? The memorization or the understanding? What changes the people is not the amount of the verses that they memorize, but it is the meaning that they understand. And that's why you find the people who know the meaning, they would cry when they listen to the verses of the Quran, even before the Imam recites them, because they know that after this verse, it's this verse, that's why they start crying. We cannot be affected without understanding the content. Now, all these questions we need to think of because our kids are exposed to. Now, another element, ask yourself, are you progressing if you are a student? Do your children progress at school or no? Everybody thinks that, yes, our children progress. How do you know that somebody is progressing? Ask yourself, how do you know? The teachers give them 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10. You cannot know that your child is progressing or you are progressing unless you compare yourself with others. If there is a race, competition, people are running beside each other, the person is running by himself, you cannot judge whether he is doing a good job or not. There's no way for you, because you don't have the standard. Say that an average person would do this running or this marathon in 10 minutes. So you have a standard, 10 minutes. Either you have a standard or you compare two people running beside each other. And in this way you would know this one is better than this one. But if one by himself is running, there is no way for you to judge that he is progressing. Now, you need to ask yourself, in comparison with other students in the class, does our child progress in comparison? So you need to know the average grade of the students, other students, the peer students, in order to know where your child is. If the average grade of the students at a certain school is 7, and your child is 6.9, he is not in the average. If the average grade at any school or at any class is 9 and your child is 8, so he's not reached the average yet. If the average is 10 and he's getting 9.9%, he's still not in the average. You cannot know whether your child is progressing or you yourself is progressing or not unless you compare yourself with others, whether they are the others in the classroom or at the school level or at the country level or at international levels. Do you take the international exams to know that your grade close to the average international grade? Is it well below or ahead of it or not? These are things that are very important for all of us to pay attention. I'm quite sure even some teachers don't know that. But now you have the knowledge. Now you have it. If you find some teachers, explain this concept to them so they would care for this. Choices. When we send our kids to school, especially when they are young, do they have choices in front of them to select from them, or everything is imposed on them? You all the time, even in your house, give your child some options. We have $5, we want to spend them in the supermarket, you can buy it. Whether you want to buy this or buy this or buy this, don't make the decision for him or for her. Give him options and let him decide. This is the way to help students become leaders as early as possible. We have an hour now. We want to spend an hour. Give some options to the child. How do you want to spend this hour? Do you want to come with me to attend the lecture? Do you want to spend it playing with your peers? Or do you want to go to learn Quran with a teacher or with a tutor? Give him 3 or 4 options and see the child where he wants to go.
Spreading awareness.
If you go way back to the time of the Prophet ﷺ, we find that the companions, they differed, but the difference was not in clashing and fighting.
Why this issue is so controversial today in Islam.
Promoting righteousness.
All the 4 scholars themselves, they said, if you find a hadith that goes against my saying, then you take the hadith.
Once the concept is understood, I think many problems will be solved.
Emphasizing God's message of peace for humankind.
Never take as a close, intimate friend except a mu'min.
The one who has the taqwa, or the truthful,
Uplifting our faith and good deeds.
Patience in the obedience of Allah. Patience in abstaining from that which is haram. The greater the reward is in this life and the hereafter.
Grasp the opportunity to enhance your knowledge of Islam in Islamic Viewpoint. Tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 12:30 p.m. India on Peace TV. Marriage or divorce?
What's Islamic ruling?
Nikah.
Solution or problem? Heaven or hell?
There is a misconception.
You choose. Beauty, wealth, family status, virtue. Decide what you want. Decide your choice. Be sad or be happy. It's your choice. Join Dr. Zakir Naik in Better Half or Bitter Half every Friday at 6:30 p.m. and repeat telecast at 9:30 a.m. India on Peace TV. Invite all to the way of thy Lord with wisdom and beautiful preaching and argue with them in ways that are best and most gracious.
Allah has not asked us to make people Muslim.
Invite, offer, share.
Allah has asked us to invite people to Islam.
Be a part of the special mission for humankind.
Dawah is really an art. We need to refocus on the importance of dawah. And this is about time the ummah woke up.
In this unique workshop with Abdur Rahim Green.
We can't force anyone to be Muslim. What if we, as an ummah, could once again take up the duty and obligation of da'wah?
Learn how to aptly deliver Allah's message of Islam to people around the world in Dawah, next on Peace TV.
Do our schools provide the kids, provide our children with options, or everything is imposed to them? Does the teacher give some options even in the questions? You want each child to answer 3 questions. Why don't you give them 5 questions or 6 questions and leave everybody to select from these options the ones that he wants or she wants? These are simple techniques, but they are very important. They develop the ability of a person to build up his personality and his character or her character. If you want to get a generation of leaders, you have to do this. Now let me jump into another concept, the concept of the average. Average. If you find a teacher is teaching, all the teachers in general, when they teach the average students. 80% of the students have this level, but 10% are above and 10% is low. What happens when the teacher addresses all the students in the same level? What happens to this 10% above? And what happens to this 10% low? What happens is those 10% on the top are at disadvantage. We are pulling them down. We are not encouraging them to go up. And what's happening to the 10% below, if we don't address them, because the teacher do not address except this average, this 10% low, they pull the society down. In the USA, after these long years of the bad relationship between the whites and the blacks in America, they found the prisons are full of Afro-Americans. Prisons are full of them. Perhaps 90% or more at certain times, they were black. Then after some years, they discovered that every time the educational system of America wants to grow up, they found that this percentage that's in prisons is pulling the society down. The whole society becomes handicapped because of this. Try to imagine if you have a handicapped child or person in your house. You will find that all your decisions are affected by this child because he's handicapped, because he cannot do things that you can do. That's why he delays you from doing a lot of things. So that's why we need to see this differentiation in teaching from the teachers. And this is very specific. I will leave it here and I will jump into another issue. The quality of time management. I will tell you this, to think of it, very important. The period is 50 minutes. You enter a classroom. One time I entered a classroom observing a teacher. She had wonderful handwriting. She writes beautifully. And she has two big boards. I entered the class, started writing using different colors. She filled the two boards. And after that, she started teaching. Then, when she finished, I praised her handwriting. Said that you write very well. MashaAllah, your handwriting. Do you do this in every classroom? She said, yes. She was very proud of that. She spent 20 minutes doing that. I said, oh, so 20 minutes. Each child, I told her, do you think that this is something good or bad? She said that this is very good. I said that, do you know what happened? That the students lost 20 minutes. If you multiply 20 minutes by 30 students, you can come up to 600 minutes. Am I correct? 600 minutes from the lives of the students were spent because the teacher was writing on the board. 600 minutes only in less than an hour from the lives of our children. I said, if I were you, I would have made this beautiful writing on a transparency, and I go to a classroom and I use this transparency in less than a minute. So I save every student 19 minutes from this 50 minutes. And you multiply this, we save a lot of our times. This is called time management in classrooms. Do the teachers save the time of our kids? Because your whole life is a number of hours or a number of minutes. If you waste some, that means you wasted part of your life. Do you use your time effectively? I'm talking about the parents, about individuals, about the teachers. Do we really use our time effectively? And this is one example of it. Look at the example of reading. These are simple techniques, by the way, that many teachers are not aware of. And I hope the parents pay attention to this because you are teachers, directly or indirectly. You teach your kids. You get into a classroom, look at this scenario. You find 30 students are in the classroom. One student is reading and 29 students are listening. This student who is reading for 10 minutes. Wonderful. But what happens is this student is practicing the skill of reading and all the students are not reading. Am I right? He's the only one who's practicing the skill of reading, and all others, none of them is practicing the skill of reading. Okay, now we go to another student, a lucky student. So he would do the same thing. 10 minutes is reading, and the rest of the students are listening. You only can cover 3 or 4 students in a period of time. But if the teachers have the skill of how to manage the time, they would have, just by thinking in a different way. If you divide the class into 2 rows, each 2 students are facing each other. In the first 10 minutes, you ask row number A to read and row number B to listen. So each one student is reading to the other student. And just after 10 minutes, you flip the coin and then you ask B to read. So all the students in row number B, they would be reading to the students in row number A. And in half of the lesson, you get all the students are reading just by a simple technique. And that's why we talk about the importance of training. Does the school have training for the teachers or no? Again, when you select a school, all these, what I'm saying, perhaps some of you feel bored, but if you connect it Islamically, the Prophet ﷺ taught us this. إِنَّ اللَّهَ يُحِبُّ إِذَا عَمِلَ أَحَدُكُمْ عَمَلًا أَنْ يُتْقِنَهُ. Indeed, Allah loves a person when he or she does a work, he or she should perfect it. Perfection is the key concept in Islam. It's not enough, as I said, to memorize and to understand. But when you apply, when you are not professional, you're not doing a good job. When the first person who tells you to come to this and gives you wrong information, the whole lecture will be chaos because the lecturer is not coming on time, so everybody wasted an hour from his life just because a simple mistake. But if there is perfection, we can improve very quickly. I would tell you what's happened. Big change from the conference that was held 2 years back and this conference in terms of organization, alhamdulillah. Why? Because we try to be professional. We are on the road of perfecting our work. If we continue doing this progress, we will reach a time that will be standard. All our conferences will be standard. When we reach the top, when we reach the end of perfection, if we can, which is almost impossible for human beings to do. But There is always something called better. We're doing something good, but can we make it better? Yes, the answer is yes. And then the question comes, how? This how means training. We need to get training in every aspect of life. The teachers, the parents. The parents cannot raise their kids well without training, without coming here to get knowledge, without going to school to participate in some training for them. None of us can do the job without training.